A man in New Mexico built a house that has never received a single utility bill. Not one. No electric bill, no water bill, no gas bill, not for heating, not for cooling, not in the middle of a summer that hit 104 degrees. And he built it for less than most people spend on a used car. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how a real $50,000 Earthship gets built in 2026, what it actually costs to live in one, and the one number nobody's selling you this dream wants you to see first. Stick around because that number shows up in the last few minutes. And it is the difference between this being the smartest housing decision of your life or the most expensive mistake you never saw coming. Before we get into it, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I break down real building costs every week, no sponsors, no affiliate links, just the numbers pulled straight from 2026 permitting offices, contractor quotes, and people who actually built these things. If you're even a little bit serious about off-grid living, you want to be here for what is coming next. Let's start with what we were even talking about. An Earthship is not a tiny house with solar panels bolted on. It is a completely different way of building, invented by architect Michael Reynolds back in the 1970s in Taos, New Mexico. The walls are made of old tires, packed tight with rammed earth, stacked like bricks, and then finished with adobe or plaster. Those tire walls are not decoration. They are thermal mass, meaning they soak up heat during the day and release it slowly at night, which is why Earthships can hold a stable indoor temperature of around 70 degrees year-round without a furnace or an air conditioner running constantly. On top of that thermal mass, a real Earthship has 4 other systems working together. A water catchment system that pulls rain and snowmelt off the roof into a cistern. A gray water system that reuses that same water for a second and third time. First for drinking and washing, then for flushing toilets, then for irrigating an indoor greenhouse. A solar and battery setup that generates its own electricity completely disconnected from a grid. And a passive solar design, meaning the whole home faces a specific direction with angled glass, so it captures the sun in winter and blocks it in summer. That is the real definition. For systems, 1 thermal mass envelope, 0 utility hookups. Keep that definition in mind because it matters later. Now here is where most videos on this topic lie to you, and I want to be straight with you about it. If you Google Earthship cost right now, the number you're going to see most often is somewhere between $450,000 and $1 million. That is real. That is what Earthship Biotecture, the original company founded by Michael Reynolds, charges for a professionally built turnkey home. Their pricing runs around $200 to $400 per square foot. So a modest 2,000 square foot Earthship built by professionals can land you at $500,000 to $800,000, sometimes more once you add design consulting. So when you see a headline promising a $50,000 Earthship, your first instinct should be skepticism. Good. That instinct is correct almost everywhere else on the internet. But this specific number is not clickbait, and I'm going to prove it to you with real numbers, real line items, and a real build. The catch is not that the number is fake. The catch is what that number actually requires of you, and that is the part nobody puts in the title. If this kind of honest cost breakdown is useful to you, drop a like right now. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who are trying to figure out if this lifestyle is realistic for them instead of just watching pretty drone footage and getting nowhere. So how does anyone build a functioning Earthship for under $50,000 when the going professional rate is 10 times that? 3 things have to happen at once. And if even one of them is missing, your number balloons fast. First, you become a labor. A professional crew charges for skilled hours, and Earthship construction is labor-heavy. Tires alone need to be packed with 3 to 5 wheelbarrows of rammed earth each, by hand, with a sledgehammer, and a small home can require 400 to 1,500 tires. Owner-builders who do this themselves are not paying anyone an hourly rate for that work. They're trading months, sometimes years, of their own physical labor for a lower price tag. That single decision is responsible for the biggest chunk of the savings. Second, use source materials instead of buying them. Tires are frequently free from tire shops and recycling centers who are happy to have someone haul them away. Bottles and cans for the interior wall details get pulled from recycling centers or local collection drives. Earth for ramming usually comes straight from the building site itself, so you're not paying for delivery or trucking. Reclaimed windows and doors from demolition sites or salvage yards can save thousands more. None of this is corner cutting on the structure. It is a sourcing strategy. Third, and this is the one people skip when they quote the $50,000 figure, you build small and you build simple. We are talking a modest one-bedroom footprint, somewhere in the 400 to 700 square foot range, not the 2,000 square foot showpieces you see in Earthship Biotecture's marketing photos. Smaller footprint means fewer tires, less roofing, a smaller solar array, and a smaller cistern. Put those three things together: owner labor, salvage materials, and a compact footprint, and real 2026 cost breakdowns for DIY Earthship builds consistently land in the $50,000 to $150,000 range, with the low end of that range achievable specifically on small one-bedroom builds where the owner does nearly everything themselves. Here is roughly how that $50,000 actually gets spent based on real owner-builder cost data from this year. Foundation and site prep, $5,000 to $15,000. Tire wall labor and materials, close to free for the tires themselves if scavenged, but budget a little for tools and sand. Roofing and skylights, $8,000 to $20,000. South-facing glazing for the greenhouse wall, $5,000 to $15,000. A modest solar and battery system, size for a small footprint, $10,000 to $30,000. Water harvesting, filtration, and a cistern, $5,000 to $15,000. A small gray water botanical cell for treating and reusing water, $2,000 to $5,000. Plumbing and electrical supplies, $5,000 to $15,000. Interior finishing like flooring and plaster, $5,000 to $20,000. And permitting and consulting fees, $5,000 to $30,000, depending entirely on where you live, which is a number I promise we're coming back to. Added up on the lean end of every category, factor in free tires and sweat equity replacing paid labor, and $50,000 is a real, achievable number. Not a myth, not a scam, but also not the number that shows up if you hire it out, and not a number that includes land. Let us talk about the second half of that title, because no utility bills ever are technically true and also slightly misleading if nobody explains the mechanics to you. Once an Earthship is built and its systems are functioning, you genuinely do not get an electric bill because there is no grid connection to bill you. You do not get a water bill because your water comes from rain and snowmelt sitting in your own cistern filtered on site. You do not get a gas bill because the thermal mass walls and passive solar design handle your heating and cooling load without a furnace running around the clock. In a well-built Earthship in a climate like Taos, indoor temperatures commonly stay in a comfortable range year-round with little to no supplemental heating or cooling, even when it is well below freezing or well over 100 degrees outside. That part is real, and it is genuinely the most compelling reason people chase this lifestyle. But here is what a monthly utility bill gets replaced with instead, and this is the part that determines whether you actually come out ahead financially. Your solar batteries are not permanent, and the chemistry matters here. Older lead-acid battery banks can fail in as little as 5 to 7 years. Modern lithium iron phosphate batteries, the Leaf APO 4-packs most new off-grid builds used in 2026, hold up far longer, but even those start degrading significantly around year 12 to 15, and a full replacement at that point can run several $1,000s, depending on your system size. Your water filtration system needs filter changes and periodic maintenance, a smaller ongoing cost, but a real one. Your gray water and black water systems need occasional pumping or servicing. Off-grid solar systems installed today typically run $40,000 to $80,000 fully installed if you're not doing it yourself. And even a small DIY system still has real equipment costs baked into that original $50,000 build number we just walked through. And two costs never disappear, no matter how off-grid you go. Property taxes, which are based on your land and structure value, not your utility hookups. And insurance, which for an Earthship can actually be harder to secure and sometimes more expensive than a conventional home, because many insurers are unfamiliar with the construction method and treat it as higher risk. This gets even sharper if you are building in a high fire risk zone. A lot of insurers will decline an Earthship outright there, not because of the tire walls, but because of the alternative roofing and glazing configurations, and because off-grid water systems often cannot deliver the sustained water pressure a fire suppression system or fire department expects. That is worth checking with an insurer before you buy land, not after you finish building. So the honest version of no utility bills ever is this. You eliminate the recurring monthly bill from a utility company. You do not eliminate the cost of owning and maintaining the systems that replace that utility company. You are trading a monthly bill for periodic, larger maintenance and replacement costs, spread out over years instead of months. For most owner-builders, that trade still works out significantly cheaper over a 15 to 20-year period. But it is a trade, not a free lunch, and any video that tells you otherwise is not being straight with you. Now, the number I promised you at the very beginning. Here it is. The single biggest variable that can take your $50,000 Earthship and turn it into a $150,000 nightmare, or stop it from happening entirely, is permitting. Earthships do not fit neatly into standard residential building codes in most of the United States. They are frequently treated as experimental or alternative construction, which means in a lot of counties, getting a permit for one is difficult, expensive, or flatly not going to happen no matter how much money you have. Taos County, New Mexico remains the most Earthship-friendly jurisdiction in the country for a reason, decades of precedent, and a local government that has seen hundreds of these built. Try the same project in a county with strict conventional codes and no Earthship precedent, and your permitting and consulting costs alone can eat $15,000 to $30,000 of your budget, if you can get approved at all. This is also why resale is its own conversation entirely. Earthships are a small, specific market. Financing one with a traditional mortgage is difficult because most lenders do not know how to appraise unconventional construction, so a huge share of these builds happen entirely with cash. And when it comes time to sell, the buyer pool is small, which historically has meant longer time on market, and in some data, resale values that do not fully recover what an owner spent per square foot to build, especially on professionally built homes. None of that means do not build one. It means the real decision is not can I build this for $50,000. You largely can if you are willing to do the labor and source the materials smartly. The real decision is do I live somewhere, or am I willing to relocate somewhere, where this is actually legal to build and insure without a fight. That is the question that determines whether this dream costs $50,000 or never happens at all. So here is the honest bottom line on the $50,000 Earthship. The number is real, but it belongs to a very specific person, someone building small, doing most of the labor themselves, sourcing tires and materials for free or cheap, and building in a place that actually allows it. The no utility bills promise is also real, but it is a trade of monthly bills for occasional bigger maintenance costs, not a free ride forever. Get both of those pieces right, and this is one of the most genuinely radical ways to own a home debt-free in this country. Get either one wrong, and you can burn through six figures finding that out the hard way. If this saved you from finding that out the hard way, that is exactly what this channel is here for. Subscribe because next week I am breaking down the exact county by county permitting picture for alternative builds across the Southwest, and it will change how you think about where to even start looking for land. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.